Got to get permission to get on my own page. That's your first sign. What happens when you begin to learn with synchronicities? Communication process that you end up having with the universe, with spirit, with angels, with guides. And sometimes we are not sure if it's evil or if it's good or if it's bad or where is the source coming from. Well, I'm going to tell you that your mindset will be the one that will determine what you see. Simply put, if you are asleep and you wake up and you start with synchronicities, but you don't process out your hells or the fears in your codet nucleus and start retaining joy, then your signs are going to be all over the place. That's right, folks, you heard me. What do I mean by that? That's good. That's usually our first step. And if we don't know the metaphysical meaning or the word even metaphysical itself, then it can be a little bit of an issue. Because you haven't got a file system yet. You need a file system inside your brain. That means you have to have new knowledge. You can't have borrowed knowledge. Borrowed knowledge is, oh, I watched a movie, I heard my friends, I was taught it in school, taught it with religion, this is the way my family thinks, it's my foundation, my first chakra, and all of my fears about being independent. You know, we're learning how to evolve out of our chakras, the first, second, and third one. But you can't do that if you're not awake. And then when you're awake, there are stages of being awake. So it's not about, oh, I'm better than you. And we're not. If you are awake and you're playing that game, get out of it. Because you got a long road, Missy. You have a long road. Let's just put it that way. Because it goes into, you have to be okay with how you're awakening. But you got to first understand you cannot sit there and borrow on past memories, borrow on people's beliefs, or you're never going to be able to connect to spirit. To truly hear with your heart and your gut and find that fine intuition that you have. I'm writing my book right now, and it's all about life, but the first few steps of it is about knowing. There are so many different layers of knowing. You need to build up that intrinsic muscle inside of you, but you can't do it on borrowed past. You can't do it on borrowed stories, our pictures, our thoughts. When building a glossary for becoming a spiritual human, why do you listen to my shows every day? That's up to you. But why do I do this? Because I know how to get out of that matrix. I know how to get out of that hell between, you know, is it either or? Is it separation? Is it there's a lot to do with giving up on the ego. The ego is what? I have to be killed off? And the first meaning of that is I physically have to die. No, that's not what that means. When you are learning how to use synchronicities, do you know how to actually begin that rapport? The rapport is very good, okay? It really is. But if you rapport and you're developing, you're really getting really good at it, but you're in the ego state of mind, the ego mindset, and you haven't come out of it, you are going to be bumping up your new ideas with your codet nucleus. And the codet nucleus that's in your brain is that fear. It is biologically inside your head. And the more fear that you have, the more that thing will just sit there and have a pulse. And you just have a little sliver of joy. But if you learn to use tools and you learn to heal your shit and you learn to discover the difference between the mindsets, and you literally use the tools that help you develop getting out of hell and develop the ego mindset and the spiritual mindset to the point where you see a difference and you can make a choice. And your ego doesn't have to sit there and think, oh my God, I gotta die. I have to give up drinking, or I have to give up smoking, or I have to give up all these things that are sinful. We gotta first get rid of the word sin. It's a control factor. Sin is simply missing the mark. Okay? And it's more than that. It is, but you have to begin to know where to begin. I began like everybody else, but as I started to get out of it, I went through the dark night of the soul on several occasions. That's when you start to wake up and you fight between I don't want to let go of my shit that I identify with in my world, because that means I'm going to have to die. Now, this is your ego struggling with you. And then you have the spiritual side of you that says you can live forever. And the thing is mortality is not the physical thing. But the point is that you become who you truly are, which is spirit first. You become more your authentic self. When you become your authentic self, you have to remember you can be happier. It is a choice. It boils down to you making a choice, but you first got to get past that codet nucleus. And you can't get past that codet nucleus that sits there and has the biology of fear that sits there and keeps you trapped into your gray matter of your personality. You need to get beyond that. But how do you get beyond that? And I will tell you, the only thing you can do is you have to evolve. But you can do it the old hard way, by bitch laugh after bitch laugh to suddenly thrown awake. And now you have to scramble and try to figure out how to get going with yourself and how do you do things, how do you function. Or you can start using tools. And I'm not joking about the tools. I don't care if they make you look stupid. That's your own thinking. That's the meaning you put with it. That's what we were taught throughout life. It's like, oh my God, we can't let anybody see me doing that. That's embarrassing. Oh my God, they're going to think I'm an idiot. And that is all that self-talk of control of what we do to ourselves, to torture ourselves in such a way to stay in. Ready? Staying the cookie cutter of life. Staying as a sheep asleep. Staying as is that if I break the norm, wait, what is the norm? The norm is a moving target. It is you that gets to learn how to create something different. It is you that gets to go beyond your pictures of your hells, the PSTDs, the traumas, the dramas. You get to choose. Yes, that shit happened to you. Yes, that shit's real. But it doesn't have to own you. I went through an extreme process many years, many times, that I have learned that the more you get into your spiritual mindset, it has nothing to do with having to live in the dark night of the soul forever. No, you actually get to get out of that. It is a process, and I asked Spirit when I began this journey, please let me remember, let me file it away, let me be able to help people. I would like to be one of how many? 1 million? I don't know. But let me help. My independence was about having to serve others. My whole soul's journey's been about serving, servitude, serving others.